every NFL season, every fan base feels like they can win the Super Bowl. When really, that's just not true. It just doesn't happen. And we know this. There's only like 5, maybe 6 NFL teams that can actually win the Super Bowl each and every season entering that season. So in this video, I'm going to give you the 6 NFL teams that can actually win the Super Bowl in 2021. Before I give you the 6 NFL teams that I believe can win the Super Bowl this year, make sure that you do spike that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more NFL videos just like this. We are gearing up for the 2021 NFL season. Make sure you do check out my Patreon as well. If you are gearing up for your fantasy football drafts, I have my own draft board over there, my own positional rankings. So check that out on Patreon. Just because only 6 teams can actually win the Super Bowl this year doesn't mean that there were not teams that I didn't consider for this list that were actually kind of close, or you may think have an opportunity to win the Super Bowl this year, but they really just don't. So there's 3 teams that just missed out. Starting with the Tennessee Titans. The Titans do appear to be that final team that I left off my list. The reason being is I can see the elements for success to potentially put together a Super Bowl championship team. They have an explosive offense. They have a pretty good coach, a pretty good quarterback, a dynamic duo at wide receiver, arguably the best running back in football, a solid offensive line. They improved their front 7. They've got a better pass rush now, and they have plenty of playmakers defensively, and some of them being young, where if they do break out in the right way, you could have yourself a challenger for the AFC. But overall, that's just too many questions, especially on the defensive side of the football, and losing their OC, Arthur Smith, certainly cannot be absolutely disregarded. So for me, the Titans were the closest team, call them team number 7, but couldn't quite make it. The number 2 team that just missed out on the top 6, the Seattle Seahawks. It does appear that any season the Seahawks have Russell Wilson, they are a Super Bowl threat. But to me, this year, they are not. They are more so pretenders than anything else. And that is because the defense, I don't trust the defense. This is not the Legion of Boom. Nowhere close. Yes, you re-signed Jamal Adams. Everybody's happy. But what about the pass rush? What about the cornerbacks? Yes, the defensive line might be a little bit better on paper entering this year than last year, but I don't think it's drastically better. You went from one of the worst, arguably the worst pass rush, to maybe a borderline top 20 pass rush, and that might be being nice, right? The secondary, the corners, I'm very nervous about on the perimeter. I don't know if you have the cover guys to compete with the elite offenses in the league or slow down anybody. So even though you have DK Metcalf, even though you have Tyler Lockett, even though you have Russell Wilson at the helm and a better offensive line, Chris Carson, arguably a better offensive scheme, I love all of those elements. They were close, but because they don't have both sides of the ball figured out, I had the Seahawks just missing. The third team that just missed was the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers just missed because simply they do not have the quarterback this year. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is for a majority of the season going to be their starting quarterback, and I don't think Trey Lance is ready to bring this team to big-time success in the playoffs. Maybe he has success during the regular season, taking over for Jimmy Garoppolo at some point, potentially, but I just don't feel like this rookie, this raw rookie, is going to carry this team in a tough NFC to the Super Bowl. I just simply do not see that happening. I feel the 49ers are a very complete team on both sides of the football with one of the best rosters in the league, a very good head coach. I think this team is a year or two away from truly competing for the Super Bowl. They almost feel like the Chiefs before Mahomes. They feel like a team that is really close. They feel like a team on the edge. They feel like they're going to make the playoffs, but they won't be a legitimate threat to get to the Super Bowl. That's how they feel to me. Now, entering the 6 teams that I believe can win the Super Bowl in 2021. Let's just kick this off with the easy one. That's the team that won it last year, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs have a loaded, I'm talking loaded roster. This is one of the best rosters I've seen in the NFL over the past 20 years. And they brought everybody back. And I believe they're going back to back. At least they're attempting it. Tom Brady is going to be on a mission once again to capture that back-to-back title. Antonio Brown with a full season under his belt and a training camp will be fascinating to watch. They have all of the weaponry from Mike Evans, the 1,000-yard machine. They have Chris Godwin, now hopefully healthy this year. A very good offensive line. A run game with Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones. They added Gio Bernard, one of their few weaknesses, a third down running back. Their offense is loaded. I didn't even mention Rob Gronkowski or Cameron Braid at tight end. The defense, the deepest front seven in the league. They added a first-round stud pass rusher in Joe Tryon to an already amazing pass rush. Vita Vea for a full season. Are you kidding me? Devin White ascending. Winfield ascending in the secondary along with Sean Murphy-Bunting, Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis, who's also getting better and better and better. This secondary last year was just getting their feet wet. Now imagine what they'll do this year. The Bucs probably will be even better than last year, which means it's going to be very difficult to knock them off, and it's going to be very difficult for them not to be a threat for the Super Bowl this year. The second team is the team that faced Tampa Bay last year in the Super Bowl, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs. I feel like most seasons throughout his career, Mahomes will be a threat to win the Super Bowl. It's that simple, especially with Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, and Tyreek Hill by his side. You have arguably the best quarterback, arguably the best coach, arguably the best tight end, and arguably the best wide receiver on one team. And when you have that, you have a chance. The offensive line is improved, especially I feel in terms of its depth, in terms of its interior play, and I do believe this is going to lead to, more than anything, a better run game. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to have a big year all around, receiving and rushing the ball, and I think it's going to make them a more complete offense, even if the loss of Sammy Watkins makes them a slightly less efficient passing game. The defense, I don't think is as good on paper as it was last year or the year before, but I still think can be solid enough, led by a great coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo, a pretty good secondary, Tyrann Mathieu, and Chris Jones up front. So the Chiefs are probably the lead dog and the favorite in the AFC, but I don't think they're necessarily unbeatable. The teams that could beat them, the Buffalo Bills and the Cleveland Browns. Let's start with the Buffalo Bills. The Bills can win the Super Bowl this year because they could maybe go through that year last year of getting to the AFC Championship, but needing a taste of that loss in a big moment to get to the next level. Josh Allen is probably the only quarterback physically in the NFL who can rival Patrick Mahomes and maybe even say he's more gifted than Patrick Mahomes. Could he actually take a step forward? Everybody's talking about regression for Allen, but what if he actually takes a step forward in terms of his IQ for the game of football? Stephon Diggs is one of the NFL's best receivers. Cole Beasley is one of the best slot receivers. Their offensive line has tons of continuity and carryover from the last 2 seasons playing together, which is awesome. If they can find a little bit more from Zach Moss or Devin Singletary in the backfield running the rock, I do think their offense will improve or at least stay the same because Brian Daboll is an absolute genius calling those different passing plays. They are one of the best spread and shred teams in football. Defensively is where I expect them to be better this year. They were actually not good last year on defense. And this is where I feel like if the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl, it's because the offense matches the defense. The defense was really good early in Allen's career. And then for whatever reason, when Allen ascended to that next level, the defense dropped off. What if both can be at a peak level this year? What if McDermott's defense plays like they did in 19 and Allen plays the way he did in 20? That's a Super Bowl team. They have a deeper defensive line off the edge with multiple picks in the draft. They have a pretty good linebacking duo in Milano and Edmonds, a solid secondary with plenty of veterans. And like I said, the key could be that they now have the experience They played the Chiefs twice last year. Maybe they can figure them out this year and knock them off in 2021. The Cleveland Browns. The Browns are a team that I look at and say they have all the pieces. If they put them together, it could be the perfect storm to get to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl this year. They have a dynamic rushing attack that opens up the play action and the passing attacks. Kevin Stefanski was arguably the best coach in football last year during the regular season and into the playoffs, where they shockingly destroyed their rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers, which I think gives them a huge confidence boost entering this year as one of the teams to beat in this league, period. Odell is back, which will add an explosive ability to the perimeter. I really like what I've seen from Donovan Peoples-Jones as another element to this offense. They have the tight ends. They have Jarvis Landry. Of course, they have the duo at running back. Baker could take a step forward in Stefanski's offense in year 2. I'm expecting it. Defensively is where they really improved. The secondary, John Johnson, Troy Hill, Denzel Ward. The linebacking core is deeper, more athletic. JOK in the middle. The defensive line, Jadeveon Clowney, could really be a nice number 2 to Myles Garrett, and I think people are sleeping a little bit on their defensive tackles. Everyone says that's their weakness. I think it's a little bit better than it gets credit for. The Browns are a loaded roster. If they can just build on what they did a year ago, they could be that team in the AFC. The final 2 teams are 2 teams in the NFC that if Tampa Bay does lose and they do not make it back to the Super Bowl, these are the 2 teams that have the best opportunity to beat the Bucs. Let's start with the team that lost to them in the NFC Championship a year ago. That's the Green Bay Packers. I'm starting to buy in a little bit into the last ride, the last dance for Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. Devontae Adams. There's really hype for Valdez-Scantling this year that usually there always is, but maybe, just maybe, if he can develop into a number 2, that opens up this offense to the next level. Of course, we know the O-line's always very good. Corey Linsley's no longer there, but it still should be pretty good. Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon are very, very nice in the backfield and very different as well. Robert Tonyan can take a step forward as a tight end for Aaron Rodgers over the middle of the field, and he just has a deeper receiving core overall with Amari Rodgers and Randall Cobb adding an underneath element along with Alan Lazard to this offense. So I see this offense maintaining its level of play from a year ago, maybe dipping slightly just because Rodgers would have to repeat an MVP performance to get back to it. But as long as it's near the same level, they'll have a very good offense. Now, defensively, I think is where they can actually step their game up. They're a solid defense, but if they can get to a good defense, then maybe they can be a Super Bowl team. And I think there's key elements to this. I think if Darnell Savage really truly develops into a top 10 safety, this would make this team very, very good in the back end. They're already good, but now you add a first round talent in Stokes on the opposite side of Alexander, who's one of the game's best. And it looks like it doesn't have a lot of holes to really attack in that secondary. They added a Devondre Campbell, a layer of depth at linebacker that they didn't have. Kenny Clark really didn't play at his best last year, and if he can get back to his best, then now we're talking in the interior. And of course, Zadarius Smith is a stud, but maybe Rashawn Gary's year could be this year where he takes that next step to truly breaking out, as he started that last year. So if the Packers can just get a little bit more well-rounded and find 1 or 2 extra playmakers for Rodgers, this team could be the team to beat Tampa Bay. The final team that can win the Super Bowl in 2021 is the Los Angeles Rams. Now, the Rams are a little bit different from most of the teams on this list. They are built through studs. Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald. They've gone all in on Matthew Stafford. They don't necessarily have the depth of a Tampa Bay, of a Green Bay, a well-rounded roster that you can't really poke holes at. You can certainly poke holes at the Rams, but the Rams have consistently found ways to elevate younger players, unknown players to levels of great status. And that's because they have great studs who really are dominant and make those other pieces better around them. The X factor is truly what Matthew Stafford could make this offense. Can this offense get back to 2018 levels and maybe even better than that? The way that it was playing with Jared Goff was absolutely phenomenal. But this could be taken to the next level with Matthew Stafford's IQ for the game, his, of course, arm his accuracy, and his late game heroics. Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Van Jefferson, Deshaun Jackson, they have a well-rounded receiving core. The run game is good. It consistently is. The offensive line is solid. Tyler Higbee is a good tight end, talented tight end who could see a breakout year. This offense could be top 5 in the NFL, and I expect it to grow this year in a way that we've never seen it before. The defense should still be solid. It might not be the best in the league, but when you have Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, it can't be that much worse, right? Those are the centerpieces, and you just work everything else around it. Yes, they lost a little bit of depth, but I still like some of their younger players at safety, at the defensive line, even at linebacker. I think there are underrated players all over this roster that really this coaching staff can get the best out of. So the Rams are that team that certainly have the upside to being well-rounded on both sides of the ball. And if they can get the best out of Matthew Stafford, then this could be the team. Those are the 6 NFL teams that can win the Super Bowl in 2021. It's Mitch of TheBottomLineView. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure you do Gronk, spike that like button. Don't forget to subscribe for more BLV just like this. Peace.